Hey YouTubers, Mike Boards with the Mike Boards channel. Thank you for watching. Today we are working on a Chevy Cruze and we have degraded engine performance and the P0171 error code. If you're joining us from the previous video where we talked about the actual part that needs to be replaced, glad to have you. In this video, step-by-step process on how to replace that part. Let's get started. First thing we're going to do, hop in the car and open the hood. Alright YouTubers, the hood is open. We now have access to the engine, and as you can see, we're going to do two things. We are going to put a new gasket on it. As you can see, the gasket is leaking, and that new part with this new internal portion here, that's what's failed and causing all our degraded engine performance. So step one, cut all electrical power to the engine, remove your negative terminal from your battery. Alright, still according to today's Miles, he is going to remove this negative terminal. And 10mm nut, you do not actually have to remove that nut fully, just loosen it up to a point where you can pull that cable off. When you pull it off, position it and set it in a location where it's not going to hop back on and gain contact to that lead. Next, the ignition coil cover. It is held in place by plastic prongs here. Be very careful, you do not want to break them. Two additional prongs on the back side. You will just carefully lift those up and remove this cover. Set it in a safe location. From here, there is your ignition coil. You have two T30 screws. However, before that, let's address the electrical connection point. We are going to shift this orange clip rearward or outward and push down on this portion of the connection point and remove the electrical connection. Alright, what I did was grab a flathead bit and just grab a flathead screwdriver. Be very, very careful. This is plastic. You do not want to break it. This little portion right here, that little clip, that has to be pushed down in order to get this clip out. To do that, I pushed on this portion, which raised it slightly, as you can see, and at the same time used the flathead bit to shift this clip outward. From here, push down and it will release the clip that connects this portion to the ignition coil, and you will pull this entire part off and just wiggle it back and forth. Be careful with this coolant hose that goes into your water outlet valve. You don't want to harm that. It's tough. You just got to continue wiggling it back and forth, and once it's off, that's what it looks like. I'm going to shift this back, and from here grab our T30 bit and remove both of these screws. Here's the T30. That's what the bit looks like. And these are pretty long screws. As you can see here, go ahead and set those in a safe location. Don't drop these in the engine. They'll be tough to find. Next thing I want to do, inside this portion of the harness that clips itself to the crank cover or valve cover, I use that same flathead bit, and by pushing down on that plastic tab in there and at the same time lifting up, you can remove this portion here from the cover. Continue following around. You've got this little cover here or clip. Go ahead and remove that, and you've got this portion here, and go ahead and remove the hose from this portion as well. And again, be very careful. You don't want to break anything. You're dealing with a lot of plastic clips. Just basically get this harness out of the way. And real quick, that is how that piece connects itself, this little connection tab here. So I just wanted to show that part. From here, we are going to grab our E10 socket and ratchet and slowly remove each of these. And here is our set that we purchased from our local AutoZone. Again, the E10, basically a star pattern, as you can see here, $9.99. And you do not actually remove these completely, you just loosen them up. And when you loosen them up, they actually stay inside the valve cover when you pull it off. And loosen them, you can go in a star pattern. So hop to the top right corner and loosen these as well. Alright, once you have all the E10 removed, what I recommend, pulling them up like that, and if you can do that to each, you have all completely loose and removed. And Why we're doing this is because once you get time to pull this off, if you've got one still caught in the thread, it won't come off. So again, do all that all the way around. This is your ignition coil. I left it on. Some people take it off once we disconnect the electrical connection and remove the T30 screws. However, I kept it on because while I'm working around here, I didn't want anything dropping into the spark plugs. However, from here, just wiggle it back and forth, and you need to pop it off the actual plugs and pull this entire ignition coil up and out. And obviously the electrical connection point will go back on the right side. Set this in a safe location. Next, your oil dipstick. Go ahead and remove that. And I'm going to rest this in paper towel. And when it comes time to put this back in, we're going to make sure it's clean. We're also going to remove our oil cap. Set that in a safe location. Don't allow any dirt or debris to get on that cap. From here, we are just going to carefully remove the valve cover, and it might take a little bit of tugging because your gasket is securing it to the head. Harness to the side and just carefully work it out of all these parts. And the cool thing is, the old gasket came right off. In the event that your old gasket, parts of it stick to this portion of the engine, spend a couple seconds and get that old gasket off. So this is a part of the engine some of you may have not seen before. Next, see all this remaining oil on the mating surface of the actual head? Clean that off and remove any oil or any remaining portion of the gasket. And as you wipe, just take into consideration you're wiping debris away. Wipe it in a manner that it's away from allowing it to fall into the engine. And just clean up the entire surface all the way around and in the center. All right, took a couple minutes and cleaned the surface. And from here, we are going to insert the high temp gasket maker in a couple areas. I'll show you here shortly. Don't get cheap on this stuff, guys. Get the high temperature rated product, because if you don't, your engine's going to continue to heat up and it's going to get to a temperature where it's going to fail your product. Come on close into here. See the gap in between this portion? It's down here and it's also up here. That's where this product comes in to create that additional seal. And look in here, you've got a poking prong. Just by unscrewing the cap, you will screw it back in and puncture that hole. From here, you can add the sealant carefully, and I'm going to insert it up here as well. Brand new cover is out of the box, and we purchased ours from O'Reilly's, and it comes with the new gasket as well. From here, spend a few seconds and verify that the gasket is in its proper insert groove, the entire radius. Once you do that, we'll grab a little bit of oil and lubricate the gasket, and that oil will help this gasket properly seat itself to the engine. And some people use new oil, some people use old oil. It's all personal preference. We are using new oil. And just again, lubricate the entire radius of your gasket. All right, making progress. I have lubricated the entire gasket. Now we are just going to carefully insert it and align it properly. Be very careful as you align it. It's going to be a little tricky. Just make sure as you align this properly and sit it on the engine, you don't get to a point where you are removing that gasket or getting that gasket caught in anything. You don't want to harm it as you insert it. And again, be very careful because you are going to need to move a bunch of stuff and get all this harness stuff out of the way. And allow it to rest in place. And look right down in here. I've got that gasket sealant right there. I'm going to carefully push down, and from here we are going to secure each of these E10 star pattern bolts. First thing we will do is hand tighten each of them. Get a feel for the thread. Make sure you are not cross threading any of these. That would not be good. Again, just hand tighten each of them. After you hand tighten them, we'll grab the ratchet and socket. All right, after hand tightening all of these, important part, we are going to tighten these in a star pattern, and that is going to help properly seat this gasket to the engine. I'll start in the lower left-hand corner, and once it gets a little bit of tension on it, hop off, go to the opposite corner and tighten that one down. Do not over tighten them, and then hop to left-hand corner and continue this star pattern until each of them are snug. I'll go into the inner portion. Again, don't over tighten these. You do not want to snap any of these bolts. All right, YouTubers, making progress. All of the E10 bolts are secured, and from here we are going to insert the oil cap and dipstick. And with the dipstick, clean it. Make sure there's no debris going into your engine. It's a good time to check your oil quantity as well. From here, let's go grab our ignition coil and insert it onto the plugs. And again, the electrical connection point on the right side. Align it properly with the plugs and just apply pressure all the way down. From here, grab your T30 screws and align them properly with the thread and secure them. And I recommend hand tightening them first. Again, try not to cross thread your screws, and get a feel for that thread. And before grabbing the ratchet and T30 bit, apply a little bit more pressure, hand tighten those T30 screws in place. From here, the T30 bit, secure each of them. And once this gets a little bit of tension, hop to the opposite side. Do not over tighten these either. You do not want these bolts to break. Make sure they're a little snug. From here, we are going to re-secure the electrical connection point, align it properly. We'll push until we hear it click. From here, be careful with this tab, secure it. Next thing we will do is properly secure all of the hose harnesses back into their respective clips. And make sure, again, you just be careful. You'll hear a click with these as well. And we may need to grab the old part off the old gasket, this little clip that's secured right here. I'll go grab that. And it's very easy to get it off. You just pull this prong back and align it properly. Hear the click, secure this, and that is all set. Let's go grab the ignition coil cover. Align them properly here and there. And forward tabs, align them properly here, and it'll make the clicking sound. From here, double check everything. Do not leave any tools or any parts inside the engine. From here, we're going to wait and allow that gasket maker to cure. Then we are going to start the engine and check for leaks. Next, Miles is going to re-secure the negative to your battery and secure the 10mm nut. And from here, we will grab the battery cover and secure that. At this point, battery cover is secured. Again, double check everything, make sure nothing is remaining in the engine compartment. I'm going to hand it over to Miles. We're going to start the engine.
If you don't know how to start your engine, you might have a bigger problem on your hands.
All right, so again, what we're going to do, we're going to let it run in idle, and we can already tell the engine is running completely different, and that's a good thing. Remember earlier it was fluctuating and idling up and down, and there was a big loud suction sound coming from there.
I can do. Open this back up.
No sound whatsoever. Let it run for about 15 minutes and just double check for any leaks. All right, YouTubers, we let the engine run for about 15 minutes and we double checked the entire radius around the entire valve cover and verified no leaks coming out. Successful DIY project. YouTubers, do us a favor, below the video you will see that thumbs up icon. Click on that, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Go to your settings, turn on your YouTube notification bell. Once you do that, every video that we upload, you will be notified. You will be able to stay up to date with us, and that will be awesome. Hope the video helped. Thanks.